What's going on, YouTube? SciGuy29 coming at you here. Welcome to the beautiful Cardboard Pub. This is episode 80 of Crafts and Cards. Glad you could make it tonight on the special Irish edition. With it being St. Patrick's week and all, got some cards back here to look at. Got a good red ale. Let's jump right into that. So tonight's beer is an Imogene Red Irish Ale from Confluence Brewing in Des Moines, Iowa, down by the airport. Our local grocery store has been carrying a lot of their beer lately, so I just, hey, it's what I've got. So, pours out nice copper color, a little red tint to it, as you can see. We'll get it filled up. It's even more appropriate that I've got the glass from the Dubliner. You can't quite see it, but cheers. Oh, that's good. I've never had this beer from them, so smooth, nice, easy drinking. Flogging Molly might be a little loud back there. Sorry about that, but you got to celebrate the season. So, hope all's going well for everyone. Spring break for this guy. Just basketball and some work. Going to work on the baseball field tomorrow. High school baseball and get that ready to go. It's supposed to be in the mid to upper 60s. So really looking forward to that. And got a few cards I'm going to show. I'm going to take a quick drink first. We'll put this back there. Slide these forward. I do have some new beers coming. Not coming. I've got them. They're right down there, actually, for future episodes. Finally have some beer from the southeast United States we'll be going through. So we'll talk about that more. Today's episode with the cards, with it being March, St. Patrick's Day, to me that brings March Madness, college basketball. So I've got a few either people that I think have been great in the NCAA tournament or I've seen play in the NCAA tournament. Got a few that are a little more personal to me than the other stack. So we're going to start with that other stack and we'll get to it. So we're going to start with a little Buddy Hield. Took Oklahoma to the Final Four. Actually saw him play in person that year in Ames. And Iowa State beat them in Ames when they were ranked number 1. Next we have an Optic Mosaic. Derrick Rose had a great run with Memphis, his one and only year in college. Also got them into a little trouble. We got to one of the greatest mid-major runs of a team. That's Fred Van Vliet with Wichita State. They had a great run there. These next, I may have shown these before, but because of the players, they're coming back. First is a guy I actually saw play in person in Minneapolis, Mr. Tim Duncan. That is numbered at a 249. Yep, 223 out of 249. Saw him play when he was at Wake Forest. They were in Minneapolis in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. So that was a lot of fun. Next we have a guy that a lot of people probably may not even know. That's Andre Miller. Was an absolute stud at Utah. Helped lead Utah to the Final Four. That's also numbered out of 210. Or 210 out of 249, excuse me. So, Andre Miller. He and Keith Van Horn teamed up, if I'm not mistaken. Next has a couple connections. Number 1, great college player. Number 2 is from Ames, Iowa. His high school just won another state title this past week. I think it's their 10th state title in school history. They've had some great players. Another player from that high school coming up. They have a player this year going that's committed to Iowa State, named Taman Lipsey. 6'2" guard, had a triple-double in the state title game. But this is a totally certified clear cloth of Harrison Barnes, who unfortunately escaped the state of Iowa and played his college ball at North Carolina. Another Harrison Barnes. Next is a card of a guy that I actually saw play in the NCAA tournament, again in Minneapolis. Different era. This was Mr. Kendall Gill. They're in his fighting lineup. This is an autographed card from Upper Deck March Madness collection. So, saw him play. Great team. One of the greatest teams I've ever seen play in person. High flying. Man, could they score the basketball. Next we have Mr. Ernie DiGregorio, who I'm not mistaken, I believe is in the college basketball Hall of Fame. Followed up with Mr. Otis Birdsong. Played at Houston. Name for my younger days. One of Duke's great players, Corey Maggette. This is 44/99. Since yesterday. Love this song. Great song. Next we have Mr. Andrew Bogut, also another Utah Ute. That comes over in the wrong pile. We'll save that one for last. Next are a little more personal cards for me. These are guys that played at Iowa State. Most of these guys I've also seen play a lot in college, some of them in the NCAA tournament as well. Starting with this guy, Victor Alexander, Big Vic. I think he's out of Detroit if I'm not mistaken. But played at Iowa State for 4 years. One of their top 10 all-time leading scorers. You can see played with the Warriors. Maybe somebody else in the NBA, I can't remember who. Saw him play in the NCAA tournament down in Atlanta. His sophomore year, before things kind of fell apart for the Cyclones. Had a young group, had a guy transfer by the name of Mark Baugh, and then Sam Mack, who eventually ended up in the NBA via Yale and University of Houston. Were also sophomores that year. We thought the future was just incredible, but Victor's the only one that stayed the whole time. Next is a current player, Mr. Monte Morris. Plays for the Nuggets now. This guy led the NCAA in assist to turnover ratio 3 of his 4 years in college. Played in 3 or 4 NCAA. He might have played all 4 years NCAA tournament. His freshman year, I think they would have really contended for a national title if George Niang had not broken his foot. Next, we have Mr. Jeff Hornacek. Walk-on at Iowa State. Became an All-American in 1986. In the first ever NCAA tournament game I attended, hit a buzzer beater from about 45 feet to beat Miami of Ohio. And up in the Metrodome, the place went absolutely bonkers. Went on to beat Michigan, and Glenn Rice was a freshman that year. Beat them the next day, or next game, and then got beat by NC State in the Sweet 16. Next we have Mr. Kelvin Cato, 2 years for the Cyclones. Center, just absolute shot eraser. This guy was awesome. He went on, as you can see, to play for the Blazers. Had a good career. Played on a team with Dedrick Willoughby, and just a great Iowa State team that got kind of jobbed in the Sweet 16 against UCLA down in San Antonio. Next we have the mayor, Fred Hoiberg. You might know him as either Iowa State's coach or the current coach at Nebraska. Another Ames High graduate. So he played at Iowa State, 3 NCAA tournaments in his 4 years. Hit a big shot against UNC Charlotte when they were still UNC Charlotte. His freshman year, they got beat by Kentucky the following game. These next two are players, 2 of the greatest players in Iowa State history, bar none. We'll start with this guy, Mr. Jamal Tinsley, 2-year player for Iowa State, guard out of Bronx, New York. One of the most ridiculously great ball handlers I've ever seen in my life. Back-to-back Big 12 champions, regular season. Won the tournament his junior year. Saw him play lots of games at home, as well as NCAA tournament in Minneapolis, where they beat Central Connecticut State, I believe, in the first game, and then Auburn in the second. Clobbered UCLA in the Sweet 16, and then just a fiasco against Michigan State in Detroit at the Palace of Auburn Hills. This was his teammate, Big 12 Player of the Year Marcus Fizer, All-American, averaged more than 20 and 10 his last year at Iowa State. Just one of the more amazing players in Iowa State history. Neither of those guys will ever have their number retired at Iowa State until they go back and get their degrees. Because that's part of the deal at Iowa State. In order to get your jersey retired, you have to have your degree, and they do not. So hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. I could see Fizer doing it. I would not hold my breath with Tinsley. Last card, the only graded basketball card that I own. And it's of arguably, maybe not so arguably, quite possibly the greatest player in college basketball history. Mr. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, of course, known as Lou Alcindor in his college days. But, record kind of speaks for itself with that guy. So, anyway, hope you enjoyed. I know I probably watched him, don't remember it. I'm old enough to do that. But, so hope you enjoyed this. Hope you have a great St. Patrick's Day. Great spring starting out. Baseball's back. So many things to get going here. And as I like to say, from the good old cardboard pub, collect what you love what you collect. Cheers.
I hope the kids settle down.